I'm Aristo Sham, I'm a concert pianist and former child prodigy. And in this video, I'm going to be revisiting some of the performances I did when I was a kid. So this is the Cadenza from Mozart's Piano Concerto No. 5 in D major K175. I am 7 years old in this video. Well, Aristo, I think that's quite a good performance, and there are many good things, but also there are a lot of things that we could work on with you. To start with the good things, I think I really appreciate the sensitivity to the harmony and the the passages. They have good intention. They're clean. They're somewhat shaped and well presented, but I think there's a lot that could be done there, especially with the clarity of the sound and also the approach to keyboard. Yeah, this will take many years to figure out. So, for example, we can start with the first passage. It would be much easier for you if you just follow it a bit more with the entire arm. Especially with classical music, you want this, very pearly sound, and I think this would help a lot with your development in this area. So yeah, I think there's a lot more that could be done with the the counterweight in the palm and also in feeling the bottom of the keyboard in order to really produce the sound that you want for this passage. So the thing that bothers me the most musically about this cadenza is that where the theme comes, you play the phrasing kind of wrong per se. In Viennese classical music, you do some sort of like, and it should never land on the end of a phrase. Especially since there's actually a slur on. So this is, you need to look at the score a bit better and understand what the composer is saying. So, this can be easily solved with just lightening up the end of the phrase. So, and this will make it much more organic and also stylistically correct.
This video is produced in collaboration with O Academy, an initiative of the Orchestra of America's group. O Academy offers elite training to talented young musicians from around the world, and sponsors programs like this piano lab with the wonderful Gabriela Montero. For more, visit oacademy.live. And now, back to the stage.
This is Chopin's Mazurka in G minor, Opus 67, number 2. I am 8 years old here. I like what you're doing here a lot. I think it's a very thoughtful and detailed performance. You're interpreting the harmonies and the melody and the tone of voice very well. But with this music, I think it's very difficult. The melodies are often truncated into many little different parts, and they all have elements that one needs to take care of. And I think some of them have been taken care of quite well, but the combination of these elements doesn't really come across very well. Like, the longest phrase that I've heard just now was probably about 5 beats. And this whole section, which is about half a minute, really should be one long phrase. The narrative would be much more organic in that way. And the other thing I thought was that, so there are these sforzandi. They're a very signature element of the mazurka, and I think they should be even further edgier. Like, you're a bit too nice on them. here. The attack can be a little bit more abrupt, and again, it always has a physical element to it. I think you can help it with the arms, and so it really gives it a bit more weight into the syncopation. I think that would help the character of the mazurka a lot. But of course, you're just discovering this piece, you're just discovering this genre of music. The mazurkas are incredibly difficult, and so this is just something to think about and, have it in the back of your brain and start developing these instincts for building longer lines. And same age, now I'm playing Chopin's Waltz, Opus 17, number 1 in G flat major.
beautiful.
Okay, so thank you for that performance. There's many good things. Your virtuosity in this is quite unbelievable. I don't know. I don't understand how this happened, and especially the size of your hand, which I don't really understand how you approach these jumps because I still have trouble with these. A way to make this a bit more secure would also be to, see a bit more of an arc between these notes and also stay closer to the key. I see a lot of unnecessary movement, which is uneconomical. Of course, the general mood and the feeling for the piece I like very much, but of course there's a lot to work on, but we're on a good track here. He actually writes a lot of slurs to help you phrase the music, and I think a lot of it has been ignored. And so, for example, there's... and then... This is always divided into two parts, and actually I think that would make your approach to this figure easier, because it's much easier than to try to just to squish it all up into one. And there's also an element of a lift in middle, which would help you both musically and technically to approach this. And the feeling of the waltz in the left hand could be much better as well. The lift of the... And also, you can experiment with all these different ways of timing and also voicing the left hand. There's so many infinite possibilities for this. So yeah, this is a lifelong project that you can start discovering now. In the slow part, I really disliked the voicing of the undervoice. I think that was really unnecessary and not productive to the narrative of the piece. You struggle struggle with the fact that it happens many times, and I think actually it's not a problem. There's no worry about it being boring or anything. It's every time it appears, it's 10 seconds. Like you shouldn't worry that the audience is bored of this melody. It's very beautiful. Like if it's something beautiful, people want to listen to it more. So I think you can just play as it comes and see what your heart feels like, what your instincts tell you. Look, I get it. You're just starting to get to know Chopin's music, and it's sometimes difficult to draw from the limited life experience and also exposure to this music to have fully informed instincts. But again, it would be a good time to start experimenting and see where it takes you. Lastly, this is Liszt's Paganini Etude number 4, and I'm 8 years old here. Yeah, you're literally standing up here. I think you also need to be grounded. That would help you very much. So just, sit down, relax, and play it.
Okay, Aristo, so you're a former child prodigy. Do you remember what the piano felt like back then and what the experience of progressing so rapidly was like?
I have recollections of many of these performances, but I don't necessarily remember the physical sensation of them. I just remember that I was never nervous, and it was very easy for me to perform when I was younger, and it was the same thing as playing in the living room for me.
But what about like actually learning the notes? I mean, it's like these are complex scores, and you're like a second grader.
I think I always had this addiction with learning repertoire, which continues up to now. And I remember when I was 5 or 6, I just asked my mom to buy all the Associated Board of Royal Schools of Music, all the grades. I wanted all of them, and I just learned all of the pieces from all of them. And I wanted to do grade 8, which was their highest level when I was 6, and my mom was like, we really can't do that. People will say I'm crazy. I'm like, but I really want to learn this music and work with it.
Did you listen to a lot of music? Because some prodigies can play fast things, but you also play very musically. So you're also kind of a musical prodigy because there's good phrasing here, so
Thank you.
Where were you getting that from? I mean, are you listening to maybe a parent or a friend or a good teacher, or are they playing recordings in your house or what?
Definitely. I mean, my mom used to teach music at home, teach the piano at home, so I was exposed to a lot of that, and I guess she also had great taste in phrasing, so I was exposed to that, before I was born even. And then we did also listen to a lot of recordings, especially in the car, like a lot of great pianists and a very broad array of repertoire, actually.
A lot of prodigies kind of burn out because somebody's really forcing them to be as great as they are, but you seem pretty chill and like you still love music. So what was your experience like in overcoming the negative sides of being a prodigy?
I mean, I think I always had a really healthy relationship with piano and music. I was never really forced to do anything by my parents, and there was a period of time in my teenage years where I wanted to take a bit more of a distance to music, and I think that was also very important for me in order to keep this healthy relationship going.
Let's see it with your 8-year-old technique.
It's so difficult. It's very difficult.
Wow, it's so beautiful.